For 2,000 years, one name has divided empires, inspired billions, and refused to be forgotten. Kings tried to erase him. Philosophers tried to explain him. Historians tried to define him. And yet, the more we search, the deeper the mystery becomes. Who is Jesus of Nazareth, and why? After 20 centuries, can no one fully explain him? This is not a story about a legend. It is a story about a real man who walked the dusty roads of first-century Galilee, and about the single question that history has never been able to close. This is the biggest mystery about Jesus. Begin with what almost no one disputes. Nearly every serious historian agrees that a man named Yeshua lived, gathered followers, was known as a teacher and healer, and was executed by crucifixion under the Roman governor Pontius Pilate. Even non-Christian sources, the Roman historian Tacitus, the Jewish historian Josephus, mention him. On this, skeptics and believers stand on the same ground. But here is where the ground begins to shake, because the historical facts are not the mystery. The mystery is the effect. How did an unarmed carpenter from an obscure village, who never wrote a book, never led an army, never traveled more than a few hundred miles, become the most influential human being who ever lived? Consider the scale. More books have been written about him than about any other figure in history. Our calendar splits time around his birth. Hospitals, universities, and charities rose in his name. And roughly 1 out of every 3 people alive today calls themselves his follower. No general, no emperor, no inventor comes close. Now travel back to the beginning, to a moment stranger than any legend. A young woman in a forgotten town, a baby born not in a palace, but in a feeding trough for animals. No trumpets, no royal decree, and yet ancient writings claim the sky itself announced him. Why would anyone invent a king with such a humble crown? For 30 years, he lived in near silence. A worker, a son, unknown beyond his village. And then, in a span of just 3 years, everything changed. He stepped out of obscurity and began to say things no ordinary teacher had ever dared to say. He did not simply teach about God. He spoke as if he had authority over the very things God controls. He told storms to be silent, and the wind obeyed. He touched the sick, and disease fled. He looked at the grieving and, according to eyewitness accounts, called the dead back to life. Crowds followed by the thousands. But it was not only the miracles that unsettled people. It was the claims. He forgave sins, something reserved for God alone. He said he existed before Abraham, who lived 2,000 years earlier. He called himself the light of the world, the bread of life, the way, the truth, and the life. These were not the words of a humble moral teacher. They were either the words of someone deeply deluded or someone telling a staggering truth. This is the heart of the mystery, the question the writer C.S. Lewis famously framed. A man who said the things Jesus said could not be merely a good teacher. He was either a liar, a lunatic, or exactly who he claimed to be. There is no comfortable middle ground. And for 2,000 years, humanity has been forced to choose. But the mystery does not end with his words. It intensifies with his enemies. The most powerful institutions of the age wanted him gone. Religious leaders felt threatened. Roman authority feared unrest. And so, betrayed by one of his own for the price of a slave, he was arrested in the dark of night. What happened next is recorded in brutal detail. A mock trial, a crown twisted from thorns, a Roman scourge, and finally, crucifixion, the most humiliating, agonizing death the empire could devise, reserved for rebels and slaves. By every measure, this should have been the end. A failed teacher, executed like a criminal, his movement crushed before it began. His followers scattered in terror. His closest friend denied even knowing him. Hope died on that hill. His body was sealed in a borrowed tomb. A heavy stone rolled across the entrance. Roman soldiers posted to guard it. The story, it seemed, was over. And then came the morning that broke history in two. 3 days later, the tomb was empty. The stone was moved. The body was gone. And within weeks, the same terrified followers who had run and hidden were standing in public, in the very city where he was killed, declaring they had seen him alive. Not as a ghost, not as a memory, but risen. Here the mystery becomes almost unbearable, because something changed these people. Cowards became fearless. Skeptics became preachers. And nearly all of them died horrible deaths rather than deny what they said they saw. People will die for what they believe is true, but it is very hard to explain why so many would die for something they knew to be a lie. Skeptics have searched for other explanations for 2,000 years. Perhaps they stole the body, but why die for a corpse they hid? Perhaps they went to the wrong tomb, but the authorities could have simply produced the body and ended everything. Perhaps it was all a hallucination, but hallucinations are not shared by hundreds of people at once. Every natural explanation seems to raise more questions than it answers. And this is the strange power of the mystery. It will not stay in the past, because the claim at its center is not merely that a good man died, but that death itself was defeated, that the grave is not the end. That is why this story refuses to fade. It touches the one fear every human being shares. Consider what happened to his movement. It had no army, no money, no political power. Its leader had been executed as a criminal. By every law of history, it should have vanished within a generation. Instead, within 3 centuries, it had spread across the entire Roman Empire, the very empire that killed him. How does a crucified carpenter conquer the world that crucified him? And notice what he never did. He never wrote a single word we can find. He never built an institution. He never conquered a city. He simply spoke, healed, loved, died, and his followers insisted, rose again. Everything else, the cathedrals, the movements, the billions of lives, grew from that seed. A mystery that started with almost nothing. There is also the mystery of his words themselves. Ideas that were revolutionary then and still are now. Love your enemies. Forgive those who wrong you. The last shall be first. The greatest among you must serve. Blessed are the poor, the mourning, the merciful. No philosopher had ever turned the world so completely upside down and made it feel somehow right. So we return to where we began. The facts are not really in dispute. He lived. He taught. He was killed. What remains a mystery is everything that cannot be explained by those facts alone. The transformation, the empty tomb, the fearless witnesses, the 2,000 years of impact from 3 short years of ministry. Perhaps that is why the question has never closed, because it was never really a question about history. It is a question about you. Every person who hears this story must eventually answer it for themselves. Was he a liar, a legend, a misunderstood teacher, or exactly who he claimed to be? The biggest mystery about Jesus is not whether he existed. It is why, after everything, the centuries, the empires, the science, the doubt, the world still cannot look away. Something about that man from Nazareth still speaks, still comforts, still confronts, still calls. Maybe the mystery was never meant to be solved from the outside. Maybe it was meant to be encountered. So the question is not just who he was 2,000 years ago. The question is who he is to you right now. If this story stirred something in you, take a moment to sit with it and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Thank you for watching, and may you find the peace you are searching for.